Eva Walker plays in the rock and roll band The Black Tones and is a DJ at KEXP. She has a deep love for Seattle music, from Jimi Hendrix to Jimmy James, and is an avid fan of classics, rediscoveries, and rare recordings. Jake Uitti's work has appeared in Vanity Fair, The Guardian, Interview, The Nation, The Athletic, and many more publications. He is a co-author of memoirs of NBA stars such as Muggsy Bogues and Michael Ray Richardson. The son of Ivy League professors, Jake grew up amidst tomes of French literature, but soulful meals, thoughtful music, thrilling sports, and compelling conversations are his true loves. Molly Sides is the dynamic frontwoman of the fiery, all-female rock band Thunderpussy. A dancer, teacher, singer, songwriter, and much more, she is incandescent. Jimmy James is one of the world's best guitar players. With a distinctive sound all his own, James has topped Billboard charts and is the consummate band leader in groups like the True Loves. Evan Flory-Barnes is a bassist and composer who has been creating and performing music since high school. He has worked with a wide range of artists and bands across various genres, performing across the United States, Canada, Europe, and Africa. Marco Collins has discovered and helped break more bands than some radio stations. His name is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he's a legend in his own time. With all that said, please join me in welcoming tonight's phenomenal panel: Eva Walker, Jake Uitti, Molly Sides, Jimmy James, Evan Flory-Barnes, and Marco Collins. Thank you.
Thing didn't really work out.
No, yes. You're all the babysitters tonight. Thank you. We'll be passing Hendrix around briefly to everybody. Thank you for being here, everybody. It is great to see your silhouettes and to hear your voices. I can't see anybody. But it's also great to be with so many good friends here. And if the green room conversation is going to speak for us, we're going to have a really good time, all of us together, talking about Seattle music. And this book that Eva Walker and I somehow wrote together during the pandemic, I think, and Eva being pregnant and having a baby. The story of the book actually begins with our relationship, which began at the Tractor Tavern, where Eva and I know, she's distracting me too. Yeah, she's too cute. Eva and I met at the Tractor Tavern when her band, the Black Tones, was performing an opening set. And I saw this beautiful woman on stage, and I said, "Who is that person? I need to write a book with her." And the rest is history. And then we got together and we started dating, and we got married, and in the same year we put out a book and put out a child. James read all of our bios, which is very sweet. I've been writing about music here in Seattle for 10 to 15 years, and Eva's everybody's favorite DJ at KEXP right now. And we're joined here by the most legendary DJ in Seattle and maybe in America, Marco Collins. And then Jimmy, Molly, and Evan are just three of the best musicians here in Seattle. I mean, I sort of wish that we could put on a show and not talk about all this stuff. But we have a book to talk about, and so we're going to do a little panel discussion about Seattle music, about the book itself. Just a little bit of background on the book, how it came to be. There really wasn't, I guess the question we get most of all about is like, how did you start this book? How did it come about? And there wasn't one, I guess, flashbulb moment. It's just that, between Eva's expertise as a DJ and my history writing, it just kind of came to us, one day, and day by day. I mean, if anybody out here is an aspiring writer. Well, it was all of our idea. If anybody out here is an aspiring writer, to write a book, just do a little bit every day. And that's what we did. And Eva came up with the table of contents of the 101 artists. And, we had conversations about it, trying to hone it. And it wasn't very easy to do, but we did it. And we wrote every single day for, a number of months. And the book was here. And for anybody from Sasquatch Books here, we have a very heartfelt thank you to everybody. Sasquatch is such an important resource here in Seattle, and they put out books like these, and that results in all of us getting together on a Thursday night to talk about it. So I guess that is the basic intro. And without further ado, as they say, we're going to ask our esteemed panelists some questions. And I think Eva and I are going to trade a microphone and a baby right now. Okay. Right, Hendrix?
Oh, she almost said something. So close.
We'll wait.
Hey everyone! If anyone wants the rest of this, then it's gonna be right there. Don't be shy. It expires in like 20 minutes. So, with cookies? I know, I forgot the cookies. You can't take any of us anywhere. This is us on our best behavior. Town hall's like, never have them back. Hi, you guys. Oh, not only are they amazing people, they are actually dear friends. And what they all have in common to me is that before I knew any of them personally, I literally said to myself, wow, I wish I was Marco Collins' friend. I wish I was Jimmy James' friend. I wish I was Molly Sides' friend. I wish I was Evan Flory-Barnes' friend. And I remember Evan being like, we're friends. And I was like, okay. I remember it was at the Columbia City Theater. I was like, oh, cool, okay. And I'm just kind of geeking out on my friendship with them really quick, then we'll start. And then I remember seeing Thunder Pussy perform, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And they performed with Evan's band at their New Year's Eve party at the Showbox. And I remember seeing Evan on the stage, and we went to support Evan, and I remember being like, oh my God, like they're so lucky to be playing with each other. It's so cool. And then we were at Lottie's, and I told Evan, I was like, man, I really wish that I could do a show with Thunder Pussy. And Evan said, next year, I'm just putting it out in the universe, you're going to be performing at the Showbox with Thunder Pussy. It happened the next year. Literally. I went, Evan, we're performing with them! That's how that happened. And Jimmy James is one of my favorite people on the planet. We've been through some dark times together, for sure, and we've been through some great times. I taught him guitar.
Bless your heart.
You believe that, right? Because Hendrix will grow up thinking that's the case. And Marco freaking Collins!
We became friends really quick
Yes,
at
we did.
KEXP.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did. We have a
We
similar
talked
sense
so
of humor.
much shit
Yeah,
in the hallways.
Oh boy!
Oh my
We
God!
did. I'm still there, so I got to be careful. No one from there is here, right? Okay, cool. No, it's great. I love it. So let me shut up and get to these questions. So I've got some questions for you all. I'm going to skip around, elaborate as much as you want, or be like, are there kids here? Oh, there is a kid there. I can't cuss today. Okay. Well, she doesn't know what you don't know if the F word is yet. But you could say, F off. I'm not answering that question, Eva, if you want. Okay. So let's just start with something easy. What does the idea of Seattle music mean to you, and who or what exemplifies it in the most in your mind? And I can repeat the question too. Can we start with you, Marco?
Sure. I don't even need this thing, but I'll use it anyway. Repeat. Let me just peek at it.
That top one right up there.
I mean, to me, Seattle, first of all, congrats on the book, you guys. I thought it was amazingly done.
Thank you.
Just such a cool, if you guys don't have a copy, definitely, did you get a copy with a ticket? Is that a part of the deal? Okay. Just fantastic, very cool. To me, Seattle music has always been sort of something that started very DIY. So when I think of Seattle, I think raw, whether it's hip hop, it doesn't matter what it is. It always has that DIY feeling, and that's how I always felt about it. And I think I also have always felt that, despite the fact that, there might be a lot of hype around the whole grunge thing, the music scene and the art scene in Seattle has always been massive. Like, whether or not the rest of the world knew about it, there's always interesting things going on in this city. So that's my answer to part one. Who or what exemplifies it? I mean, half of the bands that came out of this scene, you know, Nirvana obviously is a band that, you know, came out of nothing, you know, rose up through an indie label, playing gigs and, you know, making it happen for themselves. Soundgarden, Macklemore, you know, any of the artists.
Why do you think Seattle like allows the DIY? You know, why is that like why are we so good at that? You know, what is that? Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I don't know. That's a really good question.
Can I answer? I think it has something to do with feeling isolated on the upper left. I don't know, you know, like just being like,
We got to create our own world up here
Yeah.
because
yeah,
so far away from everybody else.
yeah. You ever like get bored because you're in a room too long by yourself, and then you just start making shit up, and that's like what we did. I'm sorry, I forgot that kid's right there.
Eva,
Yeah.
you could say the word sugar, honey, iced tea.
Instead of the
See how that works?
good idea.
You can't take me nowhere, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna go get you some cookies.
Yes, that's how I got this.
So, does anyone else want to elaborate on that? What does the idea of Seattle music mean to you, and who or what exemplifies it in the most in your mind?
I guess I'll say something, I guess. I would say, like you were saying, like, because we're so far left up here, you know, and way out of the way, you know, and when I think of bands, I'll even go earlier back, like groups like the Sonics, you know, out of Tacoma, you know, and your baby's namesake, the left-handed genius, Jimi Hendrix, you know, and, you know, you had Quincy Jones played here, Ray Charles played here. You know, they started their days down in the Jackson Street after hours, you know, scene and stuff like that. And just the stories that I've heard growing up, it's like, and I'll say the story. My late mother's, her cousin's husband and her cousin, they went to Garfield High. And they were in the same class with Jimi Hendrix. And so Jimi Hendrix played in his first band called the Rockin' Kings. They played in a group also called the Velvetones. And if you ever go and Google it, and you'll see it, they play at Washington Hall, and there's a picture of like two horn players. You see Hendrix playing a white Supro guitar. And the back of the guy's head, who's playing piano, is my mother's cousin's late husband, Robert Green, who played in that band. And they were telling all the stories of what he was like and stuff like that. And his her cousin did like an impression of him, and you can tell if you ever listen to a Jimi Hendrix interview, you can tell he's from Seattle, because this is the one time I will do this impression of Jimi Hendrix talking.
It's not the one time you'll do
I know, no, but I will.
impression.
This I'm trying not to crack
Lying
up.
already? We just started.
I'm trying not to crack up, because see, you get me to crack up when to do it. But if you hear me like, excuse me, we're gonna do this thing called Purple Haze, you know, with Billy Cox on bass, Mitchell on drums, yours truly, public saxophone. You know, you can tell. And so, you know, and then, you know, you have the groups like Nirvana and so many other groups that, you know, Heart, they're from here, you know, that's another great group. And then, you know, the other groups like, groups that were like Fat City Smokehouse and stuff like that, and so many other things. And so it's like you were saying, you know, we are very separated off, but you have to do your own thing, because we're not like, you know, LA or Chicago or New York and stuff like that. But at the same time, you also, being in a place that's isolated, that's the reason why so many sounds were so regional.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, you know what a sound is like. Okay, if somebody's from Texas, they sound like a certain way. New York or Detroit, and then you're like, oh, Seattle has a edgier, grungier sound.
And me and you, we're really big fans of the blues, and you can just hear the different, you know, there's Chicago blues, there's Texas blues, you know, there's Mississippi blues, all of that, like, just to your point on the region. And I actually want to ask really quick, who up here went to Garfield High School? Does anyone up here went to? Okay, Evan, you did. One of the things I'm really proud of about this book is that there's finally a Seattle music book that has a just a separate note on Garfield High School because so many musicians went there. What do you think it is about that school, and is there any instructors, music instructors, that you would want to shout out or just mention in that regard?
Well, of course, the two that sort of well springs for the program, I think of the musicians of the last 30 years are, of course, Clarence A. Cox and Marta Tsutakawa. And I was in the orchestra with Tsutakawa. I kind of brought this, sort of tying in this question, the last question of this question. So I think Seattle has this natural way to express an eclecticism and an individuality that, because there's an isolation, there's both the isolation of the geography, but also of an individual kind of feeling isolated depending on what the weather is, but then developing their own thing. Yeah. And then it's a bunch of people developing their own thing together. And I think Garfield was so cool because, you know, so when I first got into the orchestra, I didn't read any music. But I like had this desire, like I want to play, I want to be in the orchestra. I couldn't even play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I got thrown to the deep end on Shostakovich Symphony No. 5, and my teacher was willing to have me go through that trial by fire experience. So you had these educators like Tsutakawa, these educators like A. Cox, and then you had this environment where I was aware of Tribal Productions and Vitamin D. Then we were aware of like the history as far as like Quincy Jones and Ray Charles, and then you were aware of like people having bands. So I was going to orchestra rehearsals, hearing jazz bands, a part of a hip hop band, and that all was there. And so it was interesting to have the history of the school and who went there, kind of as this background, and even like, you know, just in this philosophical way, like Quincy Jones and how he brought together all different kinds of music, and Ray Charles, now he brought different things, and Jimi Hendrix, now he brought different things, and even Bruce Lee. And so you have this like, you have all this pulling from these different inspirations, and that was the environment of that school, and so it was just around. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for that. I was like, I hope someone went to Garfield, but then I was looking at you mostly. Like I think it was Evan. Molly, you're originally from Idaho. And you've taken us to your homeland. We've been, I don't know why I said it like that, but originally from Ketchum, Sun Valley area in Idaho, which is beautiful, by the way. We stay at her mom's house. It's amazing. What is, if there is, the biggest difference between being around the music scene in the part of Idaho that you were in versus doing it here in Seattle? Because you started Thunder Pussy in Seattle, yeah?
Well, I was just thinking about kind of this wide range of curiosity and having the space to be curious, stay curious, and invite curiosity. Like, we're talking about DIY. I feel like the moment I stepped into Washington State, actually Port Townsend, weirdly enough, is the reason I came to Seattle. I went to my first dance camp my junior year in high school. Yeah. Nice. And I was like, I'm gonna be a dancer. And I was like, this is amazing. but I felt like no matter where I went, there's this beautiful isolation, but there's so much space for invitation, for self, for community, for like just wild ideas. And I think that's the most incredible thing about being here. And like Tacoma, Olympia, Seattle, Bellingham, every space that I've encountered over the many years I've been here now, I am like, there's space to dive in to something different, a new idea. And Idaho it's very similar in that way, but I think whenever you grow up, I can't speak for anybody else who's grown up here because I didn't, but in Idaho, I felt like I was already told a story that I had to fill. There were pages already written, and I had to kind of fill it in instead of like a new book I got to write for myself when I stepped into Washington, when I stepped into Seattle. But now it's a really beautiful thing to see this bridge, and like there's an echoing that's happening in the Pacific Northwest. And I think, I mean, now we've been able to play more so in different venues, different avenues around Idaho, and there's just something expanding that when I was there was just, there was a seed, and now there's like, there's like a well, you know, there's like, let's bring it, like, let's see what else can happen. There's a new desire for cultivation, I think.
Yeah.
But growing up there, not so much.
Yeah. Put.
Yeah.
One of the things one of the many things I love about making music in Seattle is that you can be a rock and roll Hall of Famer and you can be the most indie of the indie and know exactly who each other are and have worked together. Molly and I, one of the things we have in common is Mike McCready of Pearl Jam discovered Thunder Pussy and the Black Tones. And speaking of Pearl Jam, I can talk to any member of Pearl Jam and they know exactly who Jimmy James is, you know? I can talk to Macklemore and he's like, Evan Flory-Barnes, of course I know Evan Flory-Barnes. He's played music with me, you know? And we talked about Garfield earlier. That note, by the way, written about Garfield High School was written by Ishmael Butler, who attended there. And you've also worked with Ishmael Butler as well. So it's like these different levels that artists are on, levels, whatever you want to call it. When we're here at home in Seattle, like none of that other stuff matters. We just want to make music together and we just want to like take part in each other's art. And it's this amazing community in Seattle. And I know the word community is so overused and washed out, but Seattle really has a very strong community when it comes to music. And you know, maybe you're playing Madison Square Garden one day, but then you come to Seattle and you go jam with Jimmy James at the Sea Monster. Like, that's what we do here.
And the radio is so important for that, right?
The radio is important for that.
We have the person who discovered every band ever to come through Seattle.
Exactly.
And also
Exactly.
KEXP is obviously humongous with that stuff. It's like this galvanizing force. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And I want to, if all four of you could answer this next question. I've got like 10, and I only been through one so far. Name 3 songs that have to be on your Seattle playlist, and they don't even need to be in the book or anything like that. Three songs that have to be on your Seattle playlist. And they have to be from Present Company excluded. Present Company excluded, yes. So we don't all feel crunchy that we didn't say each other's band. Yeah, your Seattle playlist.
Northwest or Seattle?
Seattle playlist. Columbia City.
All right.
Do you have an answer to that?
I have an answer. I have
101.
Jimmy?
I might take one of yours. So
No, go for it.
Okay, this is very hard for me, but okay. I'm gonna say it. I will say Isabella live at Woodstock, Jimi Hendrix. Barracuda by heart. When it comes to Nirvana, that's gonna be a hard one. It's a toss-up between either Smells Like Teen Spirit or The Man Who Sold the World, even though it's a David Bowie tune.
I said 3.
But
you can't be choosing 2 songs.
That's just why I said it's. Can I get a half at least? Okay. All right. This is gonna be difficult.
Think about yours too.
I'm gonna go with Smells Like Teen Spirit. That's all I can say.
Can we do albums?
Nope.
Songs. I'm just going to pick 3 songs. Oh, Molly, go ahead. Did you want to? That would have to be, it's funny you bring up Heart. I was the hugest Heart fan back in the day.
Yeah.
I snuck backstage at a Heart show in San Diego, pretending I was a caterer. That's what a huge fan I was of Heart.
Did not know
long
that story.
before I moved here.
That's
I
great.
snuck in with cookies. God, they threw me out of there so quickly.
I got one for you though.
Yeah.
Speaking of heart,
Yeah.
my late sister Chelsea, who was a drummer, she was actually supposed to be their touring drummer at one time.
Oh man.
But of course, I was so young, I didn't know. I was just like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just a little kid with a big old flat top. But anyway, you will not see those pictures.
Can we bring up the picture, please? No. Should have thought about that.
I'm going to say 3 songs from sort of my career at the end throughout the 90s that sort of changed everything to me and really set that tone. So, Smells Like Teen Spirit, obviously. Although it's weird to go back and listen to that record now. It was so overplayed then, I can't listen to that record. I can listen to In Utero or Unplugged, but man, sitting through Nevermind is really difficult. I'll also say, what were you guys laughing about over there? I'll also say Lump from the Presidents. Yeah, we pulled that out of nowhere. And then Harvey Danger, Flagpole Sitta.
It's a good one.
Yeah, those are my 3.
Molly and Evan.
Let's keep drinking.
Okay, I'll give you 3.
What are your 3?
I need to think about it. I'm just kidding. No.
You're
Go
going.
ahead, Evan.
Henry.
Go ahead.
So one is because of my relationship to what it did for me as an artist and as a free thinker and free person. And since Soundgarden's Outshined, and I remember when I first heard that song, I was in 7th grade, and I was I had on the inkling to play music, but I was like,
Wait, how old were you?
12.
You were in 7th grade.
Yes. I was 12. But it was a breakthrough.
Wait, what year was it?
I don't
I was 91.
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
even born.
I was 2 years old.
I was 10.
And so, no, but I heard that
Very
first
uncomfortable.
opening riff, and it hit me. And it hit me so profoundly. And back then, as there are today, there are limited notions about what a so-called black American kid can listen to and like. And I was like, hell no, like, I love this. Actually, and then I remember hanging with Kim Thail, and I was like, man, I got to tell you, man, that song hit me. And he was like, I said, thank you. He's like, no, man, you were ready to hear that song at the exact point you were supposed to hear it. And I was like, whoa! The other one is, as a young bass player in that era, an aspiring bass player, the bass line for, I'm an Alice in Chains fan, and that whole Dirt
Same.
album.
I love this.
But Wood, when I first heard that bass line, it was like, it hit me so deeply. And so it was that, those albums were my first school. And then it's in the book, Who's Listening? Tribal Productions, Vitamin D. Mm-hmm. And it's because that's how I learned the great electric bass standard, Jaco Pastorius' Portrait of Tracy, which is the core sample of that. So I didn't even know about Jaco, but I knew about Tribal Productions, and I learned that sample on the bass, and then I got so I got introduced to a whole realm of music through that song. So those 3.
That's great.
That's a great list.
Molly Sides.
My brain's just like reeling over here because secret's out now. So I make up the lyrics to every song ever and their titles. So I know every album, but no. No, but for real, Heart was my childhood. Like, Dreamboat Annie, truly to this day, I could play it on repeat, back to front, never get old. I mean, my mom would have us, my mom's rock mom, so music, dance is all to her. But she'd be like, we'd finish dinner and then we'd have our chores and then we'd be in the living room dancing. She'd put a record on. And Dreamboat Annie was just a staple. And side note, I'll never forget being able to take my mom, it was such a beautiful moment, to Tacoma to go see heart, and she got to meet Nancy and Ann and their other beautiful, amazing sister and some of their family. And my mom just like, I just had this moment where I was like, yep, I'm good. I'm done. Yep, bye. It's like, I don't need to do anything more than have this moment like stamped in time. But Magic Man was like our road tripping, hockey, road dogging, tour the world, Magic Man, but also just Dream Boy Danny. I would not have said Alice in Chains, but now I feel like I must, because when it comes to the 3 songs, I think they have to anchor for me in family, because it all comes back for me to family, because like it's all rooted there. It's all the roots. My brother Joey got to be our tour manager when we got to go on the road with Alice in Chains, and I have to be the worst person ever, but I was like, I don't really know their music. And then every night I was like, oh shit. I get it. Wood was exceptional. Every single night, but Rooster, getting to know the story behind it, and so I would say Rooster, which I wouldn't have until we sat here. Sorry, and I'm taking so long. I'm taking so long, and I was like, not child, no Rooster, because I think that there's really something very palatable and poignant about that song. In the way in which our world is spinning. And it can be quite an anchor for many people and wildly a connector. So you're like, whoa. Also, this moment, I'm having a crazy moment of Pretty Girls Make Graves. And I was a bit of a hardcore metalhead, but also female-fronted bands are like Bikini Kill. Everyone was like, oh, that's badass. But I recently saw that they played, and I was so bummed I wasn't here. I'm totally spinning out on the song, but I know, yeah. I feel like if someone else speaks, it's gonna come to me, but my brain...
Rebel Girl.
No, it's not Bikini Kill.
That's not Bikini Kill.
But yeah, and yeah, there's so many to choose from too. It's and such a wide range, but I'm word vomiting.
Those are great.
It'll come to me in a. Nice. You
go. Any Jimi Hendrix song. She's named Hendrix because he was literally the first person.
Pick one.
Fine. I'm gonna just go with Purple Haze. I'm just gonna throw one out. Purple Haze. Yeah, buddy. I named her Hendrix because he was literally the first person that made me feel like I could do what I do in rock and roll music. I was told, me and Jimmy James, we've talked about this, like people telling us that, oh, you're so white because you like rock, or you're the whitest black person I've ever met, just all that stuff. And hearing that, and then you start to believe it when you look at MTV in the 90s and you're like, oh, they are all white. Am I trying to be that because I don't want to? I mean, whoa. And then I saw Jimi Hendrix in high school, and I was like, oh, I can do that. And that was literally the first person that made me, I'm where I am because of him. So I was like, I guess I own my firstborn, but he's dead, so I'll just name her Hendrix. Rooster and Posse on Broadway. It would be my other one. Yeah. We don't have a lot of time left. I have so many questions and so much stuff I want to talk about, but I don't want Town Hall to like yell fire and kick us all out. So I'm going to try to run through these really quickly. Just give quick, short answers if you can. Mark, I'm going to direct this one specifically at you first. What's the best way, in your opinion, music admirers and consumers can help keep the local music economy thriving?
Go to shows, buy merch. Yeah. Go to shows, buy merch. I realize as you get a little older, you're not always wanting to be in rock shows, but you can also support these bands by buying their stuff online, buying the T-shirts, buying a hoodie, even if you buy it as a gift. That can really sort of thrust, that can help a band so immensely. So that's what I would say. If you're not feeling going to shows anymore, you did that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to sort of support that. And I'll even say supporting a station like KEXP who supports those artists. That's another way to do it. Sort of embrace folks that are actually elevating these artists.
That's great. And quickly, do any of the musicians here want to quickly say
I
something
second
to that?
whatever Marco was saying.
Yeah.
That's pretty much-
I also just have to say something really quickly. But Marco, you are the reason that Thunder Pussy recorded their first album. So I truly believe in supporting your station, the people behind the mic, Eva, Marco, like showing up, tuning in, showing up, and just really elevating the frequency, because you show up in ways that are more empowering than we even know. Like, you were the one that actually connected us with Sylvia, and I'll never forget being like, Marco, it's happening, and like taking a chance on somebody, like, so it's like every time you tune in or dial in or just like pen to paper, anything, it is absolutely elevating someone's life. So yeah, thank you, Marco, because that's you.
Yes.
Do you mind if I throw in real quick? And I want to just say, like, KXP is one of the greatest stations ever. Like, and excuse me. And the reason why I say that is just because of being around the world and playing in different places. I've seen messages from people from, like, one person from Senegal or Russia or Cambodia or the Philippines, Thailand, places. I was like, how did you hear about? Oh yeah, we heard about the KXP. And so KXP is one of the, it reaches like around the globe, even the little parts where, radio stations have the regional, it stays within it, certain states and stuff, but it goes far out, and that, so I just wanted to throw that out there.
And when I first started working at the station, I remember getting advice from Marco. I'm like, I'm nervous. Like, do you have any advice? And one of the things that stood out to me that you said was, if someone sends you music and they say, hey, can you not play this until then? Once you have it, it's all yours. It's free range. Like, you play it when you want. And I was like, okay.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did. I was like, yeah, they might be mad at me, but that's really good advice. No, I loved it. Off the top of your heads, musicians, present company excluded, what artists would you want to collaborate? Seattle artists would you want to collaborate with alive, we'll say?
Okay. Well, already collaborated with you, and I've collaborated you, and then somebody took my guitar licks over here and used it for one of their songs. So we know what song that is. It's somebody who says she taught me guitar, but says you know what song we're talking about, Eva.
I have no idea what he's talking
And
about.
I'm just going to throw this out here. I'm sorry if I have to put you on blast, but Eva's the type of person who will record. When I'm playing, I have to turn my back, and she films my fingers, and she's got a whole lot of video of it, too. So now I'm going to have to do kind of like a bucket head thing.
You record someone's hands like 20 times, and they keep bringing it up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start putting a towel over my hand when I'm playing. And I'll just tell everybody it's AI.
So who would you collaborate with, AJ?
I don't know. I think it's pretty much. I think I've played with so many people, so it's like it's like, ooh, oh, that's gonna be an easy one. Jimi Hendrix, all day. That would be like the greatest thing ever. Of course, I would just be playing rhythm behind him. That's it. And I would just be in the back. That's all I would be doing. Definitely.
Really? Because I would like chop his hands off and sew them onto my hands. Molly, what about you? I guess I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
Here's the thing.
That's really dark.
Now that you said that, Eva,
Lewd and just inappropriate. I'm
Eva,
sorry.
now that you said that, now I'm worried, and I might have to keep my hands over here.
I was looking at him. Molly, who would you collaborate with? I think like, why did my parents bring me? What are they talking about? Molly, who would you collaborate with? Alive or dead?
Well, I think I would just have an open door policy right now. I feel like another reason why this place is so special and really incredible is getting to play with all of you, actually. Just having an open door policy of being like, hey, whoever wants to show up, and then boom, crazy wild things just unfold. But specific to Seattle or like just the world?
Seattle.
Honestly, Chris Cornell would have been one of those. Yeah, and I should have. Temple of the Dog would have been on my list too. Fuck. Oh, sorry.
I know everyone's like,
but yeah, it's Chris Cornell. I'll put that one aside. Open door policy. Open. Whoever shows up, boom, crazy.
And Evan Flory-Barnes.
I think something I think about as a, because like musically I cover a wide range of different things, and I would love to, in some kind of capacity, be, you know, there's like the obvious like Quincy Jones extended orchestral jazz soul pop thing, but you know I think about cats like who I've always loved and who was a very big inspiration, songwriter-wise, singing-wise, Jerry Cantrell. And I would like to put him in a very unique situation, like with strings or with an orchestra or something, and like something almost stripped down. I think that would be really cool to create.
Nice.
Jerry.
Well, those are great answers. As a local musician also, I have like a little less of a famous answer, but I would really like to collaborate with the Moondoggies. Yeah. Me and Kevin are both just kind of on this same kind of gothy country blues sort of thing that I that would be my choice.
Cool.
Yeah. Can we give it up for our panel, please?
Wait, we have to ask Jake.
Give it up for my fabulous husband over here. And for
The answer to every question is Dave Matthews when it comes to
his answer. Yes, Dave Matthews is who he would collaborate with. Dave Matthews is who he would leave me for, actually. And give it up for Hendrix for being on her best behavior. So now, there's a mic. Oh, it's right there. We're going to open it up to a Q&A. You can ask anyone up here any questions, even her. And yeah, if you have a question, come line up, I guess. Come to the mic. Oh, okay. You can't ask her any questions. Oh, okay. Bye, sweetie. Yeah, we'll answer pretty much anything. Anything. Like, how long was your labor? Anything.
I think you already shared that. But first of all, I'm Jenny, and I've seen all of y'all. Actually, I've met. Well, I haven't met you. So I'll meet you tonight, and then I'll have met all of you. But I just love you and the music and the Seattle music. I have a question about the book. I was thinking about it as I was thumbing through and looking at all the songs. Did you, within each decade, did you put the songs in a particular order, like chronologically, or how did you decide how to?
Yeah, that's a
order
good
the
question. By year. Since it's the decades are in order, we kind of kept the single release in order of when they were released.
Okay, so by release date.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Great question.
I'll ask a question. Yeah. Eva, how are you? First of all, I grew up with guitar heroes like Eddie Van Halen and Oh, you know, Jimmy Page, Robert Cray. First of all, I want to say, Jimmy, the world hasn't seen a rhythm guitar player like you. Insane. And I've heard you play solo too, and it's just over the top, but like, how do you keep that rhythm? That's not the question, but. But Eva, I wanted to ask you, we've talked a little bit about it before, but to you and Jake, like, who are your influences? Like, I was looking through that book, seeing names from, you know, way in the past, and I'm a bit older than you. Like, how was that ingrained into your psyche to bring you to this point, and your musical career, obviously, too?
Yeah,
So.
like local influences or just
Just in general, yeah.
in general. Well, first, I'm going to give you a hug because I haven't
Yeah.
seen you in a really long time. Thank you for coming.
Good to see you.
Well, James Marshall Hendrix, of course, a big influence. My first rock hero was actually Alanis Morissette. Yeah, Jagged Little Pill was the first tape I bought with my own money after watching Ironic on MTV. Yeah, yeah.
How old were you?
I don't even think I was in middle school yet. I think I was 9, Marco. How old were you? No, you don't have to answer that. Yeah, but my, this is going to sound really cheesy, I know, but my family is a really big influence, especially on just like work ethic and being able to get to where I've gotten to. My grandparents worked so hard, especially my grandpa. I've heard stories of them. They're from Louisiana. I'll try to keep this short. They're from Louisiana, and so they're New Orleans. They're from a very musical city, right? And so music was also in the house quite a bit. I learned the Declaration of Independence, like I memorized it from a Fifth Dimension record that my mom had. My sister had an assignment in high school where she had to memorize it. My mom's like, oh, the Fifth Dimension does it, boom. And so that's how I learned the Declaration. Yeah, like music was everywhere. My grandfather loved Dave Brubeck. Take 5 was his favorite song. He also loved Stevie Wonder. My grandma used to listen to big band music on AM radio on her 8-track player. And so music was always a part of my life, having a New Orleans family in Seattle. And, you know, I've heard stories of them commuting from New Orleans to Mississippi and having to freaking piss in a pot because they weren't allowed to use any of the bathrooms in Mississippi. And I mean, they just been through so much, and through it all, they had music and a smile and good cooking, and all of that has influenced like just my manners, my mannerisms, everything. I make up words like Southern people do. So my family is like my biggest influence, and then Jimi Hendrix. Does that answer the question, kind of, sort of? If not, afterward, you can be like, yo, I just said yes, because...
Eva, you told me this story a long time ago, and this is how we met, before I even knew who you were.
Oh, can I tell it? Please, please,
Okay,
please, please, please,
I
please.
don't know. I'm gonna mess it up.
I went to high school, and we had this thing where guests would come into the classes, and I was, I think, 14 or 15 years old, and I was walking down the hallway, and I heard this beautiful guitar, and I was like, who's playing guitar? So I run into the classroom, and Jimmy James is playing guitar to my language arts class, and I didn't know him at the time at all. I didn't know anything about him, but I saw him playing, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And then after he was done, I went up to him. I'm like 14, 15 years old. I was a very awkward teenager, more awkward than I am now. And I was like, hi, you were really good. And then I ran away. And then, like, 10 years later, we're like best friends. I was like, you don't remember I was the awkward kid that
I
ran
remember
away from
that
you.
moment. See, here's what's funny. The awkward moments we had, it was with that, and then Evan, we had, and this also, and I did the same thing to Evan, too. That's what's even funnier, because I was your age. I'm not going to say my age, though, Marco. I'll just say I'm 23. But Evan used to live 2 blocks away from me. And he used to catch the 48. This is how far we go back. If you remember the 48 bus, then you were been in Seattle a long time. And he had this big upright bass, and he was the only guy in the neighborhood who had like an instrument. I was like, whoa, who's this guy? And I had this beat up guitar case, right? You remember it had like, I was wearing bell bottoms at the time and all that. My hair was a little bit blacker then. And I had this guitar case and stuff, and I would sit there, we'd look at each other. I was too shy to say anything. We'd look at each other, we're like, and that was it, right? And every time we see each other at the bus, we're like,
You guys,
never said a word, and it took us 6 years at a jam session to finally talk, and you were like, man, you were the guy with that beat up guitar case, and I was like,
All the names on it. Yeah.
and I still have that guitar case, and I'm gonna bring it out one day with the dust and all.
you guys, what Jimmy James is describing is like the Northwest Black experience where, you know, when you see a black person with something other than like an instrument, like not a boombox or whatever, like you're like, oh, it's like the new this, right? You're just like, oh, you gotta get.
But you gotta pull the chin up, so it's
Yeah,
like
you
saying
just look at
hello.
each
You're just
other.
like,
You're like, I know exactly what you're going through. Like the Northwest Black experience is a thing. Paul Bunyan, Jamal Bunyan. Any other questions? There's a microphone right there.
Hi. What's your favorite Seattle show with the Seattle band, and where was it?
Oh, seeing Thunder Pussy at the Showbox, I think. In 2000, the year you guys played, that was like my favorite. 2017 into 2018, that was like hands down my favorite show, and they're still one of my favorite bands. What about you guys? Any favorite shows?
favorite shows that is now one is one. I'm gonna see if you remember this one. It was the night that I think it was at Neptune, I believe, and True Loves, and you came as our guest to sing, right? And it was that, and you did Ray Charles' "Hit the Road Jack." I think there's a video of it somewhere.
Oh, that's right.
And you got the crowd really jumping on that one. And it was so fun, and I remember that.
I told them, I was like, sing to me as if I'm the person that you want to hit the road. Like, pretend I killed your dog. Pretend I called your mom ugly. And then get real mad. And that crowd was like, hit the road, Jack.
But there's also
pissed.
the other one I will say, not to make everybody sad, but the last show my mother got to see before she passed was with you. And I got to tell this story because it's pretty funny. So her and my mom was sitting in a wheelchair, and I think y'all were laughing about people going in and out the bathroom and not washing their hands or something. And y'all were laughing back and forth because that's how she was. And you were asking me, you were like, why are you so nervous? Because my hands were sweating really bad. And I'm like, oh, what am I doing? You're like, why are you sweating? I said, my mother's here. And I usually don't sweat like that, because my mother's my biggest critic. True story. She will tell you like this. First show I ever played, I played the solo, and I really thought it was happening. And I asked my mother, I said, Mom, what do you think? She said, truth. The first 3 notes were right. Everything else was off. Go work on that. And that's the person she was, and I miss her for that. And then so there's a picture of my mother holding a record of yours, Cobain and Cornbread. That was the record. And after I was done, I said, Mom, what do you think? She said, okay, truth, that was fantastic. She said, you know what, you should play with them guys more often. You should play with the Black Tones more often. I really like them. She's like, you should just be in their band. And I'm like, but Mom, I have a band. Yeah, but you should play with them though. And I was like, okay, thank you. I love you, baby. And that was, yeah.
And that was the Mavis Staples show, who was one of
Yes.
her favorite artists, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole reason I asked him to play. I knew his mother loved Mavis Staples.
But she loves you guys a lot too. She held on to that record. And she was like, I just love their music. I love that rock and roll that they playing. It's good, So yeah.
Margo, you have a favorite show you've been to?
I mean, I've got a couple of them. That Nirvana show at the Paramount in '91, that was kind of legendary. God, I had another one that I've already forgotten.
It's okay, it was the 90s, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. This starts happening. What was it? Another freaking show. I'll think about it and let's move on.
How old were you then?
In 91, I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Age ain't nothing but a number.
I was in my
baby.
20s.
Okay.
20s.
We've
In the
got-
90s.
We've got another question.
A question and a statement. I'm here because I saw the Black Tones play in Reno a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
Mama, there's a spider in my room.
That was good.
Got your merch. But I was thinking, is like Tacoma not a thing up here in Seattle? Because I'm from SoCal originally, and I'm old as F. And like I was totally influenced by Fender guitar and surf music, and the Ventures came out of Tacoma. Are they in your book?
Yeah, the Ventures in the book. No, but we have the Sonics, and Bing Crosby was
'Cause they
originally from.
arguably invented surf music. I mean, their
Yeah.
tune Walk Don't Run was the very first live guitar I ever heard in SoCal. And I grew up in Redondo Beach.
That's awesome.
And, that was like, when I saw that, a live person playing that, it's like blew my mind.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, Bing Crosby is one of the people originally from Tacoma. There's a few other Tacoma people, but that's a good one. It was hard to fit or to narrow down 101 songs to cover 80 years of music. You can imagine what that took. But one of the things that I really appreciate that my husband did was he left the table of contents up to me, and while I was doing the table of contents, I wanted it to look like how this stage looked, diverse. And so there's typically a lot of people left out of the conversation, so I had to sacrifice a lot of white guys to get to get some much-deserved hip-hop artists, black artists, Japanese jazz pianist Deems Sudakawa in there, women. Like there was a lot of sacrifices that had to be made. But if you listen to me on KEXP, you know I do this thing called Walker Wormhole Wednesday. One of the things with this book, thank you, some wormholers over there. One of the things is that I hope this book influenced you to go down your own wormhole. It's a place to start, and then you can get to the Ventures. Because this is a very small portion. I mean, 80 years of music, you guys. You can't get that in 101 bands, but we tried. But yes, art. So I hope you do your own searching. I hope this is a good place to start, and then you go do your own searching from here. Yeah. Thank you for that. Hi.
Hi. I saw that there's a section on Sub Pop records, and I was curious if there was another example of a record label that kind of exemplified like the DIY or the Seattle spirit.
Yeah, I'm going to let Marco pitch in on that, but K Records comes to mind to me, and then there's
Kill Rock Stars.
Kill Rock Stars.
Barsook.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's another
Olympia.
one too in my research. It's no longer
Who are
around.
we forgetting? There's
But,
like a ton
Stardog.
There's a lot.
of small little indie. CZ, that's another good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. There's
Okay.
one more.
Still around, still putting out music.
It's gonna destroy me if I don't find it. But sorry, keep going.
Who else?
Oh, and there was Sport and Life Group, which was really
yeah.
big in the hip hop scene. Like the guy, one of the founders, Devon Manier, actually manages my band now. But in the '90s, Sport and Life Group worked with people like Vitamin D, and D Black is what he went by at the time. But now Nassim, is what he goes by. But so I want to shout them out. Sport and Life Records. They're no longer a record label, but
There's also Loose Grooves,
Oh yeah.
Loose Groove.
Hockey Doctor, Stardog, which is,
I
also
can't
public,
find the
but-
one though that I'm really thinking of that I kept running into in this research.
What was that? Oh.
And it's driving me crazy. I'll find it at 4 in the morning and I'll call you.
Yeah, do each of you have a favorite venue to play in Seattle? And also play a favorite venue where you like to listen to music?
Great question.
I would say Sea Monster Lounge. Easy. like, you know, like, because it's the thing I love about the Sea Monster, and shout out to Mark Mantry, and what I love about it is it's owned and run by musicians, you know, and it's a musician's hang. You know, we all can go there. You know how many times, I mean, you could be, everybody come off a show, somebody's playing. I mean, who's been there? There's been not only like we go hang out there, but it's like Derek Trucks came and hung out there one Monday night a few months back. Roy Hargrove, the late Roy Hargrove, sat in. Members of Prince's band came through there. War has come through there. And everybody has just come in from different parts. You know, I think Dave Matthews came there once and had a drink there. So it's just like musicians come and hang because they know, like, oh, my show is done. Where should I go where the live music and have a drink? Come to the Sea Monster. People come up there. It's always a great hang.
And I'm a big fan these days of Sea Monster, of course, but also Tim's Tavern out in White Center. They're doing a really good job there. Great sound, great vibe. Get out there. It's a really, really cool spot.
Molly or Marco, do you guys have any favorite venues you like performing at or seeing shows at?
I mean, I love Numos. I like seeing bands in small places. Showbox is killer. But I do want to shout out, there's a little venue on Capitol Hill that I love, wine bar / art gallery / performance space called Vermilion. Yes. And they've been around since the old days, and it feels so much like old Seattle to me.
That's great.
So I love that place.
That's a great one.
Want to give those guys a shout out.
Diana. Fun, weird. I feel like I'm over here being like, you're like, it's cheesy family. I'm like, oh, family. I'm like just echoing all the things. Vermilion is, I'm so happy you just said that. Because, well, one, I was like, oh, there isn't just like one space. Because, again, that's the Seattle, I love you. Like every space and the ways in which they open the doors and the capacity in which they grow, or or even like kind of create more intimacy is so unique to this city. Because I mean, like I could literally list off all of them, from like the old Crocodile to the new Crocodile, Numos, Tractor Tavern, the Sunset, like the Showbox. But like literally every space in Seattle feels like I am so grateful for every single space that keep their doors open because of all of you and for all of us, to the magic in which is showing up. And making noise. But Vermilion has a very special space in my heart because dance is a big root of my life. And I mean, it's the reason I moved to Seattle. But Vermilion and Diana were the first people to take a chance on me when I had this crazy idea to start an event called Trigger New Dance Happenings. And I really wanted to highlight movers and shakers around the city. Who were not necessarily highlighted or given the same opportunities to show their works in progress, to show and even to share their voice and their movement in unexpected spaces around the city. But Diana was the first person to be like, oh, hell yeah. And we did that for, I think, 1.5 years, every 2 months. And she would like have different art, and be like, so they kind of they're going to be up against that art. Is that okay? And she's like, oh yeah, totally cool. It's like, someone's going to smash some fake glass over here. She's like, oh yeah, just maybe not on the frame. Oh, okay, cool. But Vermilion, I'm so glad you just said that because it's still, I love that it's still there. Also, like, oh.
And it's still got the vibe.
Yeah.
That old, like, Seattle vibe.
The DIY.
DIY thing. I real quick, also, the killer little venue at Pike Place Market called the Rabbit Box. Yeah. And that's the kind of venue that needs your help right now, too. They're struggling. So if you ever get a chance to go down there, It's underground. That feels like old Seattle too.
Where the old Can was.
Yep,
yeah?
where the old Can was.
Also, the Royal
Killer.
Room. I was just thinking
yeah,
of the
Royal
Royal Room
Room.
the other day, and I was like,
Royal Room.
yeah, you know, and also that like cornet, Jovino, another artist. I loved Jovino, but just these incredible spaces. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And to go back to a question I asked Marco earlier about how music lovers can support, you know, a thriving music scene, support your medium to small size venues. That is like at the root of the ecosystem in music. That's where a lot of bands start. That's where you're going to discover a lot of brand new stuff. That's where people are getting their start at. And I think we have time for one more question. So you're lucky number.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I have to admit, I haven't been keeping up with the live music scene in a while, but I remember my uncle telling me in the 50s, he'd go to see a band, and after they'd done their performance, they'd go to another venue and jam with another band, and they'd end out where they're playing till 5 in the morning, and the patrons had to go to work. That's when they'd end.
That's what he does, like every day. Yeah. He doesn't sleep. Go ahead.
I was wondering, do you guys, after you've done your performance, do you go to watch someone else and get invited to jam with them and keep it going?
Go ahead and talk on that.
Really?
Yes,
You had to
he
put me on
does.
blast like that? Okay. True. This is true. Because my bedtime does not start until 6 a.m. So sometimes even that. But it's true. Because there's been jam sessions that will happen, you'll play, and then you're like, oh, there's one. I think there's actually one going on later tonight, I think. And I know I'm supposed to be on a flight tomorrow, but that's okay. But the jam sessions, like, especially when you hear about back in the day, like you were saying, in the 50s and such, and there's still certain pockets that are still like that, you know, around, you know, and stuff like that, especially when you go down to Soto and stuff, and it's just like, okay, what's going on down here, you know? And we're like, what's going on? Oh, there's a jam session going on in Texas. Oh, yeah, well, this is going until, I don't know, 5 in the morning. I'm like, okay. And sometimes you'll be playing so long, you'll be like, playing just like, ding, and be like, just want to make sure the guitar is still playing. But it happens, you know. And so there's good pockets of that. You just have to know where to find them and stuff like that. Or Brody Nation one night, but this is a true story. We had played the show. I was doing Artists at Large, and I was like, okay, yeah, everybody's packing up. People are going to their tents. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be done. And then ended up like my amp was still on stage. I'm like, turn it back on. I start jamming. People come out of their tents. By the time it was over, I think it was 6 or 7 in the morning. The sun came up and nobody slept. I didn't, of course. But it's always fun to do, you know, and I love those after hours because you never know who you might hang with or who you might jam with and stuff like that. So that's always fun.
Can I just say that just made me think of Dobe Fest and Sasquatch. And again, I'm just going to gush on all the Seattle. But the festivals as a new artist or, you know, kind of figuring things out and getting to experience or witness, discover new artists, and then be able to be camping out next to them, be like, hey, so I'm not sleeping, you're not sleeping. I don't like play some music or like, or, you know, and like that just made me think of specifically Dobe because of however many years and having that space like Kevin Sir and Jobe. But like that magic of like the restlessness and creative like wackadoos. But that you're meeting everybody exactly where you're at, and then all of a sudden something comes from it and you're like, oh wow, we're actually going back to the same place. Did you wanna make some music? Or like that's how Leah that's how Thunder Pussy actually formed, was basically at Dobe, thanks to Leah playing with Cumulus, I'm pretty sure. Alex, anyhow. Yeah. And I was like, Leah, I don't know you, but I love you.
woo. She's like, whoa. We're not sleeping tonight.
It's always fun to like have those late night sessions because you know you get into kind of a delirious state, which happens, or some people take certain recreational activities.
And with that being said,
I'm not gonna
thank you so much for coming. We've got books for sale. Give it up for Evan Flory-Barnes, Molly Sides, Jimmy James, Marco Collins, my husband Jake Uitti with Hendrix somewhere. I'm Eva Walker, and thank you, Town Hall. We'll be signing books. Any of us will sign books for you, but me and Jake will be sitting somewhere.
Yes, we'll be doing a signing over in the library, so if you want to get your book signed, line up over on that side. If you haven't gotten a book to get signed yet, over on this side is where you want to be. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a great rest of your night.